The projector's light cut through the smoke-filled warehouse like a blade, and Elena's face went cold as ice when she saw herself on screen, kissing Marco in that alley 3 nights ago. Dante Moretti stood at the head of the table, remote in hand, his jaw carved from fury and betrayal, and the 12 capos around them had gone silent as graves. "You lied to me," he said, voice low and lethal, and she knew that whatever they'd built in 6 weeks of whispered promises and stolen nights had just shattered into something she couldn't name, something that tasted like blood and felt like the end of everything. Wait, before the next turn. If this story already has your pulse racing, tell us where you're watching from. To stay close when hearts break, debts are paid, and vows are whispered under city lights, subscribe and don't blink. Now, back to the scene. The video kept playing. Elena watched herself laugh at something Marco said, watched him tuck a strand of hair behind her ear, watched the way she leaned into him like she trusted him, like she wanted him. None of it was real. But Dante didn't know that, couldn't know that, not with Antonio Russo sitting 3 seats down from him, watching with those dead shark eyes, waiting to see if the great Dante Moretti would be fool enough to let a woman play him. "I can explain," Elena said, and her voice came out steadier than she expected. "Explain." Dante's laugh was acid. He clicked the remote again. The video shifted to another angle. This one showed Marco's hand on her waist, her palm flat against his chest. "Explain how you were in my bed Tuesday night, and Wednesday you were in his arms. It's not what it looks like." Then what is it? He took 3 steps toward her, and every man in the room tensed. Dante Moretti didn't lose his temper, didn't raise his voice. When he was truly dangerous, he went quieter. And right now, he was quieter than death. "Because what it looks like is that you've been feeding information to the Castellano family through Marco Vitali. What it looks like is that you're the reason 3 of my shipments got intercepted last month. What it looks like," his hand shot out and gripped her chin, forcing her to look at him, "is that I've been sleeping next to a snake." Elena's heart hammered against her ribs. She could see it in his eyes. He wanted to believe her, wanted it so badly it was killing him. But want wasn't enough. Not in this world. "I'm not working for the Castellanos," she said quietly, "and Marco Vitali isn't who you think he is." "Then who is he?" "My brother." The words fell into the room like stones into deep water. Dante's grip loosened fractionally. "Your brother?" "Half-brother. Same mother, different fathers. I didn't tell you because—" She stopped, swallowed hard. "Because I knew how it would look. His father ran with the Castellanos 20 years ago. He's been trying to get out ever since." "Trying to get out?" Dante repeated flatly. "And you just happened to be meeting him in alleys, in secret, while sharing my bed?" "He called me Tuesday night, said he had information, said the Castellanos were planning something, and he wanted to warn me, warn you." Antonio Russo cleared his throat. Convenient story. Elena didn't look at him, didn't dare take her eyes off Dante. "Search me. Check my phone, my computer, my apartment. If I'm lying, you'll find proof." "Oh, we will." Dante released her chin and stepped back, and the loss of his touch felt like falling. "But first, you're going to tell me everything. Every meeting, every conversation, every single thing you've kept from me." "In front of them?" She finally glanced at the capos, at Antonio's satisfied smirk, at the others who were watching like this was theater. "In front of everyone," Dante said coldly. "You want me to believe you? Prove it, right now." Elena's mind raced. This was a trap. Had to be. Antonio had orchestrated this whole thing. He'd been pushing for weeks to get rid of her, had never liked that Dante brought an outsider into their inner circle. But she'd walked into the warehouse 15 minutes ago with no warning, no time to prepare, And now she was standing in a room full of killers with nothing but the truth. The truth that would sound like the worst lie in the world. "Start talking," Dante said, "or I start assuming Antonio's right about you." She met his eyes, saw the man she'd fallen for buried somewhere behind all that ice and fury. "My mother was Sofia Vitali. She died when I was 17. Before she passed, she told me I had a brother, Marco. His father, Luca Vitali, he was muscle for Vincent Castellano back in the 90s. Got out before the big war, moved to Boston, tried to go straight." "I know who Luca Vitali is," Dante said. "He's dead, killed 6 months ago, by Castellano's men because he refused to come back. Marco inherited his father's debts. They've been using him ever since." "Using him for what?" "Information, leverage, whatever they need." Elena's throat was dry. "3 weeks ago, Marco found out the Castellanos knew about me, knew I was with you. They told him to make contact or they'd kill his girlfriend, Angela. So he did." "And you didn't think to mention this?" "I thought I could handle it. Thought I could feed them bad information, keep Angela safe, and you'd never have to know." Dante's expression didn't change. "You thought you could handle the Castellano family, alone? I thought—" her voice cracked. "I thought if I told you, you'd kill him. He's all the family I have left. So you protected your brother instead of protecting my operation." Dante turned away from her, and that hurt worse than his anger. "You chose him over me. I chose not to make you into someone who'd kill a man for trying to save the woman he loves. Marco's not a soldier. He's a mechanic. He just wants to get Angela out of the city and disappear, but they won't let him go." "Nobody gets out," Antonio said from his seat. "Everyone knows that." Elena ignored him. "Marco gave me everything. Names, dates, shipment routes they were targeting. The meets in the alley, he was passing me intelligence. That's why your shipments got hit. I was trying to figure out their pattern before I brought it to you." "Trying to figure out their pattern?" Dante repeated. "For 3 weeks, while sharing my bed and my secrets? I was trying to protect you. You were trying to play me." He spun back to face her, and the rage was finally breaking through that cold mask. "Do you have any idea what you've done? The position you've put me in? Half the families think I'm weak already for bringing in an outsider. Now they'll think I'm a fool. Then show them I'm telling the truth. Let me prove it." "How?" "Marco's meeting his Castellano handler tomorrow night. Let me wear a wire. Get you proof." The room erupted. 3 capos started talking at once, and Antonio stood up, his voice cutting through the noise. "This is insane. She's had weeks to choreograph this entire story. For all we know, this is exactly what they want. Send her in with a wire so they can feed us false information while the real attack comes from somewhere else. Or," Elena said, "I'm telling the truth, and you're so desperate to get rid of me that you'd rather lose the chance to take down Vincent Castellano than admit you were wrong about me." Antonio's face went dark. "You don't talk to me like that." "She talks however she wants," Dante said quietly, and Antonio sat back down. But Dante's eyes stayed on Elena, measuring, calculating. "You wear the wire. You get me proof. But Elena." He closed the distance between them again, and this time when he touched her, his hand wrapped around her throat. Not tight, not yet, just a promise. "If you're lying, if this is a setup, I won't kill you quick. I know. You'll wish I had." "I know that too." His thumb traced the line of her jaw, and for just a second, she saw the man from Tuesday night, the one who'd held her like she was the only real thing in his world. Then he let go and stepped back. "Take her to the holding room. Lock it down. Nobody talks to her. Nobody touches her. Tomorrow, we'll see if she's telling the truth or if she's the best liar I've ever met." 2 guards moved forward. Elena didn't resist as they took her arms. didn't look back as they led her out of the warehouse and into the cold November night. She'd bought herself 24 hours. 24 hours to either prove she was worth trusting or die knowing she'd lost the only man who'd ever made her feel like living was worth the fight. The rain started as they pushed her into the black SUV, cold drops hitting her face like tiny accusations. She thought about Marco, probably sitting in his apartment right now with no idea that his sister was about to risk everything to save him. Thought about Angela, innocent and sweet, who'd never asked to be dragged into this world of blood and debts and impossible choices. Thought about Dante's face when he'd seen that video, the way something had broken in his eyes. The SUV pulled up to a shipping container on the edge of Dante's territory. One of the guards, she recognized him as Tommy, had served him coffee a dozen times when she worked the morning shift at Dante's restaurant, unlocked the heavy door, and gestured inside. "Nothing personal, Miss Elena," Tommy said quietly. "Boss's orders." "I know, Tommy." She stepped inside, and the door clanged shut behind her. The space was exactly what she expected. 20 feet of corrugated metal with a cot, a bucket, and a single bulb hanging from a wire. No windows, no heat. Just cold metal walls and the sound of rain drumming overhead. Elena sat on the cot and let herself shake. Let herself feel the terror she'd been holding back in that warehouse, surrounded by men who'd killed for less than lying. She'd gambled everything on Dante's love being stronger than his pride, his need for her being deeper than his need for respect. And she had no idea if she'd won or lost. Hours passed. Elena dozed fitfully, jerking awake every time she heard footsteps outside. But nobody came. The rain eventually stopped, and silence settled over everything like a blanket. She was starting to think they'd forgotten about her when the door finally scraped open around 2 in the morning. Dante stepped inside. He was alone. No backup, no witnesses. Just him in a black coat with snow melting in his dark hair. When had it started snowing? Looking at her like he was trying to solve an equation that didn't make sense. "You should sleep," he said. "So should you." "I don't sleep anymore." He stayed by the door, keeping distance between them. "Not since I started wondering what you were hiding." "I wasn't hiding anything from you. I was hiding you from something." "That's not how trust works, Elena." "Trust?" The word came out bitter. "You want to talk about trust? You've had me followed since the day we met. You've had people watching my apartment, tapping my phone, reading my emails. Don't stand there and tell me I'm the one with trust issues. I'm a mafia boss. Paranoia keeps me alive. And I'm a woman who watched her mother get beaten to death by a man who said he loved her. Keeping secrets keeps me alive too." Something shifted in his expression. He knew about her mother. Knew Elena had spent 3 years in foster care after Sophia died. Knew she'd clawed her way through college working 3 jobs, and had only ended up in his world because she'd been waiting tables at his restaurant and caught his eye. But had never asked what actually happened to Sophia. "Who killed her?" he asked now. "Her boyfriend, Victor. He was low-level Russian mob. She tried to leave him. He put her in the hospital twice before I convinced her to run. But she went back." Elena's voice was flat, factual. Went back because he said he'd changed. He killed her the same night. I was 16. Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then, "Where's Victor now?" "Dead. Car accident 2 years later." She met his eyes. "I know you didn't have anything to do with it because you didn't know I existed then. But I've always wondered if my mother's family did, if they made it look like an accident." "Your mother had family?" "The Morettis don't own all of New York, Dante. Some of us come from other families, older families." She watched recognition flicker across his face. "My grandmother was Sophia Romano." "Yes, those Romanos. The ones who controlled the East Side before your grandfather pushed them out. Now she had his full attention. The Romano family had been absorbed into the Luciano Empire 30 years ago, scattered and broken after a war that decimated their ranks. Most people thought they were extinct. Your Romano blood? Half. My father was Irish. He died before I was born. But my mother, she grew up in that world, hated it, ran from it. I didn't even know until after she died and her mother came to claim me. Your grandmother, Lucia Romano. She tried to raise me, tried to pull me into what was left of the family business. But I saw what that life did to my mother, so I ran too, changed my name, cut ties, built something normal. And then you walked into my restaurant, and you saw right through me, Elena said quietly. Saw the blood in me, the pieces of that world I couldn't quite shake. That's why you kept pushing, kept asking me to come back, to take a job managing your books. You knew I'd understand the life in a way outsiders never do. Dante finally moved closer, sat down on the cot beside her, careful not to touch. If I'd known you were Romano, I never would have brought you in. Too much history, too many old wounds. That's why I didn't tell you. And Marco? Marco's father got my mother pregnant during the war. Luca was young, stupid, in love. But when Vincent Castellano found out Luca was sleeping with Romano blood, he gave him a choice: give up Sofia or die. Luca chose survival. My mother chose me. Marco grew up not knowing I existed until our mother was dying and told him everything. So he reached out 6 years ago. We've been careful, meeting maybe twice a year, always in public, always brief. He wanted nothing to do with the life, built a legitimate business, fell in love with a good woman. And then his father got killed and the Castellanos came collecting. Dante was silent, processing. Elena could see him putting the pieces together, testing her story against what he knew of the families, the histories, the blood feuds that never quite died. The video, he finally said. Antonio set that up. I know. He's been wanting you gone since the beginning. Too much influence, too close to me. I know that too. If you're telling the truth, if this is all real, he might be working with the Castellanos, using your brother to set you up. Elena turned to look at him. And if I'm lying, if this is all an elaborate con, then you're already dead. His hand moved to her face, cupping her cheek with a gentleness that didn't match his words. But I don't think you're lying. Why not? Because you're terrified. And you're not afraid of dying. I've seen you walk into danger like it's a dance. You're afraid of me not believing you. Afraid of losing something that matters. His thumb brushed over her lower lip. What we have, it's real for you, isn't it? She couldn't speak, could barely breathe. Isn't it, Elena? Yes, the word broke on her tongue. God help me, yes, it's real. All of it. And I'm so tired of being scared that every time you touch me might be the last time before you figure out all the ways I'm wrong for you. He kissed her then, slow and deep and devastating. Kissed her like he was trying to taste the truth in her mouth, find the lie hiding under her tongue. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers, and his voice was raw. Tomorrow night, you wear the wire, you get me proof. And Elena, I know, if anything goes wrong, you run. Don't try to be a hero. Don't try to protect Marco. You run, and you don't stop running until you're so far away I can't find you. I can't leave him. You can and you will. Because if the Castellanos figure out you're wired, they won't just kill you, they'll make an example. And his jaw clenched, I can't watch that. I won't. Elena pulled back to look at him, really look at him. Dante Moretti, the man who controlled half the criminal underground in New York, who could order deaths with a phone call and end empires with a word. He looked wrecked, lost. You care, she whispered. I more than care. His hand tightened in her hair. I'm in so deep with you, I can't find my way out. So tomorrow, you do this right. you stay safe, and you come back to me. Because if I lose you—" He stopped, started again. "The things I would do if I lost you would start a war this city hasn't seen in decades." She kissed him this time, poured everything she couldn't say into it. The fear, the hope, the desperate need to make him understand that she'd never meant to hurt him. That every secret she kept was trying to save him from having to make impossible choices. When they finally broke apart, Dante stood, headed for the door, stopped with his hand on the frame. "Your grandmother, Lucia Romano, she's still alive?" "Yes, lives in a house in Queens, keeps to herself. After tomorrow, I want to meet her." "Why?" He looked back at her, and the smile that crossed his face was sharp enough to cut. "Because if we survive this, I'm going to marry you. And I should probably meet my future grandmother-in-law before the wedding." He left before she could respond. Left her sitting in the cold container with her heart in her throat and tears burning behind her eyes. Marry her. He wanted to marry her. If they survived tomorrow. Elena lay back on the cot and stared at the ceiling, listening to the wind howl outside. She thought about all the choices that had led her here. Running from her grandmother, hiding her blood, trying to build something clean in a dirty world. Thought about the moment she'd walked into Dante's restaurant and felt his eyes on her like a physical touch. She'd known then, on some level, that he would change everything. She just hadn't known how much. Morning came too fast. A guard brought her coffee and a bagel around 7, wouldn't meet her eyes. Tommy came back an hour later with clean clothes, jeans, a black sweater, boots. Everything fit perfectly. Of course Dante would know her sizes. At 9, they took her to a safe house in Brooklyn. Dante was already there, along with Polly, the tech specialist who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. "This is smaller than I expected," Elena said, looking at the wire Polly held up. It was barely bigger than a button, flesh-colored and thin as paper. "That's the point." Polly's hands shook slightly as he showed her how it worked. "It'll pick up everything within 20 feet. Battery lasts 6 hours. Waterproof, heat-resistant, and unless they strip-search you, they won't find it." "And if they do strip-search me?" "Then you're dead," Dante said flatly from across the room. He'd been pacing since she arrived, radiating tension. "Which is why at the first sign of trouble, you abort. Tell Marco you're sick, tell him you forgot something. Tell him whatever you need to tell him, but you get out." "I can handle this." "I know you can, but that doesn't mean I like sending you in there." He finally stopped pacing and crossed to where she stood. "There are 50 other ways to get proof on the Castellanos. We don't need to do it this way." "Yes, we do." "Because 50 other ways don't save Marco, and you know it." Dante's jaw worked. "Your brother made his choices. He's 24 years old. He inherited debts from a father who was trying to protect him. That's not making choices, that's being trapped." Elena touched his face. "Please, let me do this. Let me save him." "And if saving him costs me you?" "It won't." "You can't promise that." "No," she agreed. "But I can promise I'll fight like hell to come back to you. That I'll be smart and careful and I won't take unnecessary risks. That I'll run if I have to, even if it means leaving Marco behind." She leaned up and kissed him softly. "I can promise that living is more important to me now than it's ever been, because I finally have something worth living for." Dante's arms came around her, crushing her against his chest. He buried his face in her hair and just held her, and Elena felt him trembling. "If anything happens to you," he said against her ear, "I will burn the world down." "I know. I'm not being poetic. I mean literally. I will declare war on every family who's ever worked with the Castellanos. I will tear this city apart brick by brick until there's nothing left but rubble and memory." "I know," she said again, "but you won't have to. Because I'm coming back." He pulled back and kissed her, deep and possessive and desperate. When he finally let her go, his eyes were blazing. "Polly, wire her up." The process took 15 minutes. The wire went between her breasts, the tiny microphone positioned to pick up her voice. Polly taped it down with medical adhesive and showed her how to test it by tapping twice on her collarbone. "Tap once if everything's okay," Polly explained. "Tap twice if you need backup but can't talk. 3 times if you need immediate extraction." Elena practiced. Tap, 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 tap. "Good." Dante checked his watch. "Marco's expecting you at the coffee shop in 20 minutes. We'll have people on every corner, cars ready to move in." "But Elena, you're on your own in there. We can't risk tipping off the handler by being too close." "I understand." "Do you?" He gripped her shoulders. "Because once you're in that room with Castellano's people, I can't protect you, can't save you if things go wrong. You'll have maybe 30 seconds before they realize you're wired, and in those 30 seconds, you run. You don't look back, you don't try to be a hero, you just run." "Where?" "North. There's a safe house on 42nd Street. Red door, gold knocker. Code is 1737. You get there, you lock yourself in, and you don't move until I come for you." Elena repeated the address. The code burned them into her memory. "Now go," Dante said, "before I change my mind and lock you in that container permanently." She almost smiled. "I'll see you in a few hours." "You better." The coffee shop was busy, lunchtime crowd, people grabbing sandwiches and lattes between meetings. Elena spotted Marco immediately, sitting at a corner table with his back to the wall. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, hands shaking around his coffee cup. "Sis," he said when she slid into the seat across from him, "I wasn't sure you'd come." "Of course I came." She reached across and squeezed his hand. The wire picked up the ambient noise, espresso machine hissing, people chatting, music playing overhead. "How are you holding up?" "I'm not." Marco's voice cracked. "Angela's talking about running, just getting in the car and driving until we hit Canada or Mexico or somewhere they can't find us. Would that work?" "You know it wouldn't. They'd track us down in a week, make an example." He looked at her with desperate eyes. "I need this to be over, Elena. I can't keep living like this." "I know. That's why I'm here." She leaned in closer, lowering her voice. "Tell me about the meet tonight. Everything." Marco glanced around nervously. "Not here." "Then where?" "The warehouse on Pier 47, 7 o'clock. Enzo will be there. He's my handler." Middle management answers directly to Vincent. What does he want? Information on Dante's operations, shipment routes, warehouse locations, names of his suppliers. He thinks I can get it through you. Elena's mind raced. What have you told him? Nothing real. Made up names, fake addresses, but he's getting suspicious. Last time he threatened Angela. Said if I didn't deliver something useful, they'd make her suffer. Marco. I know, okay? I know I'm in over my head. But what am I supposed to do? They have her picture, her address, the name of the school where she works. They know her parents, her sister, her friends. There's no version of this where I can protect her alone. Elena tapped her collarbone once. Everything okay? What if you didn't have to? What do you mean? What if Dante helped you? Got you and Angela out of the city, gave you new identities, helped you disappear for real? Marco stared at her. Why would he do that? Because you're my brother. And because, she stopped, started again. Because he's not the monster you think he is. He's complicated and dangerous and absolutely ruthless when he needs to be. But he also understands loyalty, family. He'd respect what you're trying to do for Angela. I find that hard to believe. Then believe this. I'm asking him to help you. And he listens to me. Marco was quiet for a long moment. How serious are you two? Serious enough that he wants to marry me. Her brother's eyes went wide. Elena, I know what you're going to say. That I'm making the same mistake Mom made. That I'm trading one kind of danger for another. But Dante's not Victor. He's not going to hurt me. Not physically, maybe. But that life, it'll consume you. You'll wake up one day and realize you've become someone you don't recognize. Or I'll wake up next to someone I love, doing work that matters, protecting people who need it. She squeezed his hand again. I'm not running from this, Marco. I'm choosing it. And I need you to trust that I know what I'm doing. He searched her face. You really love him. I really do. Then, okay. Marco exhaled slowly. Okay. If he can get us out, me and Angela, I'll do whatever you need. Tell me about Enzo. What's his weakness? Money. He's skimming from Castellano. Has been for years. Squirreling it away somewhere, planning his own exit. Can you prove it? Maybe. He keeps records on his phone. Paranoid about someone else finding them, so he never lets it out of his sight. Elena's pulse quickened. If they could get evidence of Enzo stealing from Castellano, they could flip him, use him against the entire organization. Tonight's meet, will he have the phone? Always does. Then here's what's going to happen. Elena laid it out carefully, the plan forming as she spoke. Marco would go to the meet wearing a wire Dante's people would plant on him in the next few hours. He'd get Enzo talking about the money, the skimming, the plans to get out. And while Enzo was distracted, Elena would slip in through the back. She'd worked in enough warehouses to know the layouts and grab the phone. That's insane, Marco said when she finished. If you get caught, I won't get caught. You can't know that. I've been sneaking around dangerous men my entire life. I know how to be invisible when I need to be. She checked her watch. 5 hours until the meet. Get Angela and go to this address. She slid a piece of paper across the table, one of Dante's safe houses. You'll be protected there. Once we have what we need from Enzo, Dante's people will get you out of the city. New names, new lives, enough money to start over somewhere safe. And if this doesn't work, then we improvise. Elena stood. But Marco, this is our shot. Only shot. So we do it right, and we don't screw it up. He stood too, pulled her into a hug. I'm sorry I dragged you into this. You didn't drag me anywhere. We're family. This is what family does. Elena left the coffee shop and walked 3 blocks before Dante's car pulled up beside her. She got in, and he immediately pulled her close, checking her over like he expected to find injuries. I'm fine, she said. It went exactly as planned. I heard. His hand cupped the back of her neck. You're not going into that warehouse tonight. Dante, no, absolutely not. It's too dangerous. We'll find another way to get Enzo's phone. There is no other way. He never lets it out of his sight, and if we try to take it by force, he'll destroy whatever evidence is on it. This is the only option. Then we don't get the phone. We pick up Enzo after the meet, interrogate him until he tells us what we want to know. And he'll stall, lie, die before he gives up Castellano. You know how this works. Elena turned to face him fully. I can do this. I've been in and out of warehouses my whole life. I know how to move quietly, how to stay out of sight. You've never done it with Castellano soldiers watching for threats. They won't be watching for me. They'll be watching for your people, for cops, for rival families. A woman slipping in through a back door? I'm invisible. Dante's hands tightened on her. If something happens, then you avenge me spectacularly and tell everyone what an idiot I was for taking the risk. She kissed him. But nothing's going to happen. I'm going to get that phone, get out, and be back in your bed before midnight. Trust me. I do trust you. I just don't trust the universe not to take you from me. The universe doesn't get a say in this. We do. Elena leaned her forehead against his. Let me do this. Let me save my brother and prove to you that I'm worth keeping around. You've already proved that. Then let me prove I can be useful. That I'm not just someone you have to protect, but someone who can stand beside you, equal partner in all of this. Dante was quiet for a long moment. Then, equal partner means you follow the plan exactly. No improvising. You get in, you get the phone, you get out. 30 seconds, maximum. 30 seconds, Elena agreed. And if anything feels wrong, anything at all, you abort and run. I will. Promise me. I promise. He kissed her then, hard and desperate. When he pulled back, his eyes were blazing with something between love and fury. If you die tonight, I'm going to be so angry with you. Noted. 7 o'clock came too fast. Elena stood in an alley half a block from Pier 47, dressed in black, her hair pulled back, a knife strapped to her thigh that Dante had insisted she carried. The wire was still in place. Polly had checked it an hour ago, made sure the signal was strong. Marco had gone in 10 minutes earlier. Elena could hear his voice through the earpiece Dante had given her, nervous and shaking as he greeted Enzo. "You're late," Enzo said. His voice was rough, a smoker's rasp. "Traffic, sorry. You bring what I asked for?" "Some of it. Dante's pretty careful about what he shares." "Then you need to get closer. Make yourself indispensable." "I'm trying, but if I push too hard, he'll get suspicious." A pause. Then, "Your girlfriend, Angela. She's still teaching at that elementary school?" Elena heard Marco's sharp intake of breath. "Leave her out of this." "I'm just making conversation. Nice school, lots of kids. Be a shame if something happened there." "You son of a..." The sound of a scuffle. Elena's hand went to her knife, but Dante's voice crackled through the earpiece. "Hold position. Marco's okay. Enzo's just establishing dominance." She forced herself to breathe, to wait. Marco's voice again, shaky. "Fine. What do you want?" "I want the location of Dante's main shipment warehouse. The one where he stores the product before distribution. I know he has one. I know you can find out where it is." "That's going to take time." "You have a week. 1 week, or Angela gets a visit from some friends of mine." Footsteps. "Now, get out of here. And Marco, don't even think about running. We've got eyes everywhere." The sound of a door opening and closing. Marco was out. Elena's earpiece crackled. "You're up," Dante said. "Back entrance, 2 guards, both smoking. Wait until they go inside." Elena moved through the shadows, silent as death. The warehouse loomed ahead, dark except for a few lights in the upper windows. She could see the guards, big guys, bored, passing a cigarette back and forth. 5 minutes passed. 10. Finally, one of them stubbed out the cigarette and jerked his head toward the door. They both went inside. Elena moved. The back door was unlocked, sloppy, but she wasn't complaining. She slipped inside and found herself in a storage area piled high with crates. Voices echoed from the main floor. Enzo talking to someone on the phone. She crept forward, using the crates for cover. Saw Enzo standing near a desk, his back to her, phone pressed to his ear. A different phone, his personal one, sat on the desk next to a half-empty bottle of whiskey. This was it. Elena counted to 3 in her head, moved forward on silent feet, reached for the phone. Enzo spun around. For a horrible second, they just stared at each other. Then, his hand went for his gun, and Elena's training kicked in. She grabbed the phone, threw herself backward into the crates, and ran. "Intruder!" Enzo's shout echoed through the warehouse. "We've got a fucking intruder!" Footsteps pounded behind her. Elena sprinted through the storage area, looking for the exit. Any exit. Found a side door, slammed through it, and ran straight into one of the guards. He grabbed her arm, and she didn't think, just reacted. Drove her knee into his groin, used his momentum to spin him into the wall, and ran again. The street. She just needed to get to the street. Behind her, Enzo was screaming orders. More footsteps. Gunshots, the sound deafening in the narrow alley. Elena zigzagged, making herself a harder target. Saw the main road ahead, saw Dante's car screeching to a stop, saw him leaning out the window. "Get in!" She dove into the back seat as bullets sparked off the pavement. Dante floored it, and they were flying through traffic, weaving between cars, taking corners so fast Elena had to grip the door handle to stay upright. "Did you get it?" Dante demanded. Elena held up the phone, her hands shaking. "Got it. Are you hurt?" "No. Scared out of my mind, but not hurt." "Good, because we have maybe 5 minutes before every Castellano soldier in the city is looking for us." He took another turn, then another, heading toward one of his safe houses in the financial district. "Polly, you there?" "Here, boss." The tech specialist's voice crackled through the radio. "Bring me the phone, I'll crack it." They reached the safe house, a penthouse apartment with reinforced doors and panic rooms. Dante practically carried Elena inside, his hands all over her, checking for injuries she didn't have. "I'm okay," she said again. "Dante, I'm okay. You could have been killed." "But I wasn't." She held up the phone, and we got what we needed. Polly appeared, grabbed the phone, and disappeared into one of the back rooms. Elena collapsed onto the couch, adrenaline draining away and leaving her exhausted. Dante sat beside her and pulled her into his arms. Didn't say anything, just held her while she shook, while the reality of what she'd just done hit her all at once. She'd stolen from the Castellanos, ran from their soldiers, almost gotten shot in the process. And she'd do it again in a heartbeat if it meant saving Marco. "I'm proud of you," Dante said quietly, and terrified, but mostly proud. "Think Polly can crack it?" "If anyone can, he can." Dante kissed the top of her head. "Marco and Angela are safe. They're at the house in Connecticut with 6 guards and instructions to stay put until we give the all clear." And then? Then we see what's on that phone. And if it's enough to take down Enzo, we use him to get to Vincent. And if we can get to Vincent, Dante's smile was sharp, we end the Castellano family permanently. Elena closed her eyes and let herself believe it. Believe that this nightmare might actually end. That Marco and Angela could disappear and build something normal. That she and Dante could have a future that wasn't constantly threatened by the past. Polly emerged an hour later, grinning like a kid on Christmas morning. "You're not going to believe what's on here." Enzo wasn't just skimming. He was running an entire side operation. Guns, drugs, even human trafficking, all without Castellano's knowledge. The phone had years of records. Transactions, names, locations. Proof that Enzo had been stealing millions and funneling it into offshore accounts. More importantly, it had communications with other families. Deals Enzo had made behind Castellano's back. Alliances that would get him killed if Vincent ever found out. "This is leverage," Dante said, scrolling through the files. "Enough to make Enzo flip. Work with us instead of against us." "Will he do it?" Elena asked. "He doesn't have a choice. We show him this. Tell him we'll give it to Castellano unless he cooperates. He'll fold. Enzo's a survivor, always has been. He'll take the deal that keeps him breathing." They set up the meet for the next night. Neutral ground. A restaurant Dante owned, public enough that Enzo couldn't try anything stupid. Elena insisted on being there, and Dante didn't fight her on it. She'd earned her place at the table. Enzo showed up exactly on time, flanked by 2 bodyguards who Dante's people disarmed at the door. He looked calm, but Elena saw the tension in his shoulders. He knew something was wrong. "Dante Moretti," Enzo said, sliding into the booth. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" "Cut the shit, Enzo." Dante placed the phone on the table. "We know everything." Enzo's face went pale. "That's my... How did you?" "Doesn't matter how. What matters is what we do with it." Dante leaned forward. "You've been stealing from Castellano for 5 years, running side operations, making deals with the Lucianos and the Russos, all behind Vincent's back." "He'll kill me." "He will, unless we kill you first." Dante's voice was conversational, almost friendly. "Or, option 3, you work for us. Feed us information on Castellano's operations, help us take him down. And in exchange, we don't give Vincent this phone, and we make sure you come out of this breathing." Enzo looked from Dante to Elena and back. "You're asking me to betray my family? No, I'm offering you a chance to survive the war that's coming. Because, make no mistake, Enzo, war is coming. The Castellanos have been pushing into my territory for months. You think I don't know Vincent's planning something? This," he tapped the phone, "is just insurance. But your information, your access to Vincent's inner circle, that could end this before it starts. And if I say no, then we give the phone to Vincent and let nature take its course." Dante smiled. "But I don't think you'll say no, because you're smart, and smart people know when they're beaten." Enzo was quiet for a long moment. Then, "What do you need?" The takedown happened 3 weeks later. Federal agents raided 5 Castellano properties simultaneously, seizing drugs, weapons, and enough evidence to put Vincent away for life. Enzo had given them everything: dates, locations, names of corrupt cops and judges on Castellano's payroll. It was the biggest bust the FBI had made in a decade. Vincent Castellano was arraigned on 23 counts, including racketeering, drug trafficking, and murder. Bail was denied. The empire he'd spent 30 years building crumbled in a matter of days as his soldiers scattered, his allies turned, and his territory got absorbed by Dante and the other families. Enzo disappeared. New identity, new life. Somewhere far from New York. Dante had kept his word about keeping him breathing, though Elena suspected Enzo would be looking over his shoulder for the rest of his life. Marco and Angela were in Oregon now. Marco had sent pictures. A small house near the coast, Angela smiling on the porch, both of them looking happy and free. They'd changed their names, cut all ties to the old life. Elena missed her brother, but she was glad he'd gotten out. Not everyone was meant for this world. The warehouse party was Dante's way of celebrating the victory, a gathering of the families to acknowledge the new power structure, to formalize alliances, to remind everyone who was in charge now. Elena wore a black dress that Dante had picked out, expensive and elegant, and stood at his side while he worked the room. "You look like you belong here," a voice said behind her. Elena turned and found Lucia Romano standing there, dressed in old-world elegance, looking every inch the matriarch she'd been 30 years ago. "Nona," Elena breathed, and hugged her grandmother for the first time in years. "You've done well for yourself," Lucia said, pulling back to study her. "Better than your mother did. Better than I dared hope. I had help. Yes, Dante Moretti." Lucia's eyes tracked to where Dante stood talking to 3 other bosses. "He came to see me, you know, asked permission to marry you." Elena's heart stuttered. "He did?" "Very proper, very respectful. I told him yes, of course. The Romanos and the Morettis, it should have been an alliance from the beginning. Would have saved a lot of bloodshed." Lucia smiled. "Your children will be powerful, Elena. They'll have the blood of 2 great families. Guard them well." "I will." "Good." Lucia kissed her cheek. "Now go. Your man is looking for you." Elena crossed the warehouse to where Dante stood. He saw her coming and excused himself from his conversation, meeting her halfway. "Dance with me," he said. "There's no music." "There will be." He led her to the center of the floor, and as if on cue, someone started playing something slow and romantic. Dante pulled her close, and they swayed together while the party continued around them. "My grandmother said you asked her permission to marry me," Elena said. "I did." "When were you planning to tell me?" "Right now, actually." Dante pulled back and dropped to one knee, right there in the middle of everything. The entire warehouse went silent. "Elena Romano," he said, pulling a ring box from his pocket. "I want to spend the rest of my life with you. Not because it makes political sense, not because our families should unite, but because I love you. because you're brave and loyal and absolutely insane. And I want to wake up next to you every morning for the rest of my life. Will you marry me?" Elena couldn't speak, could only nod and hold out her hand while he slid the ring onto her finger. A diamond surrounded by emeralds, exactly like something from her grandmother's generation. "Is that a yes?" Dante asked, grinning. "That's a yes," Elena whispered, "to everything." He stood and kissed her while the warehouse erupted in applause. And Elena knew with absolute certainty that this was where she belonged. Not running from her past, not hiding from her blood, but standing beside the man who'd seen all of her secrets and loved her anyway. The wedding was in spring at the Romano estate upstate. Every family came to witness it, the old alliances reforming, the new power structure solidifying. Marco gave her away, looking uncomfortable in a tuxedo but smiling like he meant it. Angela cried through the entire ceremony. And when Dante said, "I do," his voice carried the weight of every promise, every risk, every moment that had brought them here. Elena said "I do" back and meant it with her whole heart. They kissed and the room erupted in applause. And Elena knew with absolute certainty that this was where she belonged. Not running from her past, not hiding from her blood, but standing beside the man who'd seen all of her secrets and loved her anyway. Later, at the reception, Dante pulled her onto the balcony where they could see the stars. "No regrets?" he asked. "None." She leaned into him. "You?" "Only that I didn't find you sooner." He wrapped his arms around her waist. "But we have time now, all the time in the world." Elena turned in his arms and kissed him. "Tell me something. Anything." "That night, when you saw the video, when you thought I'd betrayed you, what would you have done if I'd been lying?" Dante was quiet for a long moment. "I would have killed you," he said finally, "because I couldn't have lived knowing you'd played me. But Elena, I'm so glad you told the truth. So glad I get to have this with you instead of—" He stopped. "Instead of what?" "Instead of a lifetime of wondering what could have been if I just trusted you." Elena rested her head against his chest and listened to his heartbeat. Strong and steady and real. "No more secrets," she said. "No more secrets," Dante agreed. And for the first time in her life, Elena believed in forever.